evidence gathering? Is there anything that, like, maybe through all of your observations and all the books that you've written, that there's kind of like a thread going through that you kind of feel like we're on the cusp of understanding?
Well, that thread is attached to a very, very big ball of yarn. And I would say that what I've most recently come to understand, which is the subject of an upcoming book that will be out in October, is that throughout human history, people in different cultural realms, and I would say there's four four main cultural realms in humanity, and they are indigenous people who are land based and very connected to their their physical surroundings and the seasons and things like that. There's South Asian religious traditions, most of which are related to one another. There's East Asian, which are religious traditions, some of which overlap with South Asia, some of which are distinct, like Confucianism, not really a religion, a philosophy about life. And then there's the West. Those are the four. The other three always assumed that the earth and everything on it was sacred. They always assumed that the value of all living things was equivalent, and that all living things had equivalent souls, and that to the extent that humans are special, our special responsibility was to maintain the balances of the world and not upset them. The West is a tremendous outlier in that regard. We we have been raised with the cultural indoctrination that the world has no value, that no other creatures have souls that we imagine ourselves alone to have, and that perfection exists off this planet outside of space and time, and that we should yearn to get there by dying. That's a big difference. So
Wow.
you're asking me, what have I learned about, what do I think we're going to learn about animals next and things like that? I think the main problem is we don't value our existence. We don't understand that the world in every conceivable way and many inconceivable ways is an absolute, it defies description, but it's an absolute, um, what's the word for this?
What, what,
It's a let's say it's a cavalcade. That's a word that comes to mind. It's a procession, a parade of miracle upon miracle upon miracle embedded in miracles that are so far outside of the ability of people to comprehend
mhm.
that we have only in the last few decades, out of all humans have been around as humans for something like 300,000 years. And it's in about the last 100, and certainly only the last 200, that we have had any inkling of the fact that the world changes, that living things change through time, any inkling about how old the planet is, something about how the planet may have formed, something about the universe and its infinite dimensions, uh, all of these things, and most of them are really impossible for a human to grasp, except
Right.
in the vaguest outlines. If you want to know everything that is known about any one of these tiny threads, you have to spend your entire life as a specialist hoping desperately to keep up with all the information that is being uncovered. And
Right.
What is the consequence of the fact that it's impossible for most people to do that? The consequence is that we are demolishing the ability of this planet to sustain life. And what do I mean by that? Well, almost every animal in the world is at its lowest population level since humans arrived and is declining pretty rapidly.